Hey, Mike, welcome to the Joyous Health Podcast. How's it going?
It's going great.
Amazing. I'm so happy you're here. So, can you share with me how you became an air quality expert? Because I found out about you from one of my closest friends, Megan Telpner, and she's like, you have to talk to Mike. He is the one to talk to because a few weeks ago, when we were having like the worst air quality from the wildfires, I was like, oh my God, we need to get a really good quality air filter. And now here you are on the podcast. So tell me
And and
everything.
and 2 weeks later, the air is really bad again.
I know it's terrible today. Yep.
What's your Jasper reading at today?
Um, this morning it was actually only about 12 or 14. So
Okay.
I think it's still like good, but apparently the air quality outside is really like it smells like a campfire in
So
my
one
backyard.
of the hardest things to educate is like first of all, if you open your doors or windows for even 5 minutes, that 12 will be like a 50 or a 60
Should I
really,
do
really
that just
quickly.
for fun?
You can.
Test it
Um,
out?
you can. I would do a really short test because what people don't realize is when that 12, that's only reading that one thing. The really
Mm.
harmful stuff is the stuff that the Jasper can't detect. So
Mm.
it's what you can't see or smell. Like if you can smell the campfire and see the smoke, think about all the finer particles that you can't see or smell. Those are
Right.
the ones, those fine particles are the ones you really need to worry about. And if you don't proactively clean the air, those get into your furniture, to your carpets, to your clothes, to your insulation. That outdoor smoke, think about what water is to fish, air is to humans. So we
Right.
live in air. It's not like we
Mm.
are separate from the air. We are living within this atmosphere from the sea level to the sky. We have this just like the fish have water from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the water, and then it stops. So there's this water layer, then there's this air layer, and us mammals, we're living in the air layer. And people don't realize that their house is also amongst the air. And homes and windows, where do you think the oxygen all comes from? Outside. So
Mm.
all the campfire smell, the only reason you don't smell it inside is because you're used to it.
Mm.
Um,
Right.
it's very, very present in people's homes, and it's and once the smoke is gone, think about if you take a t-shirt, you could stay 10 feet from the campfire all night long, and you go, and at the end of the night you shower and you go, whoa, I stink, I didn't realize
Mm.
that. And you could leave that shirt outside for 2 weeks, it still stinks like smoke. So
Right.
people don't realize it's all these fine particulate that they can't see, they can't smell, that lingers. So if people don't have air purification, I always tell them, when the smoke is gone, use a HEPA vacuum, steam clean your carpets,
That's
clean
good
your ducts. You have
advice.
to decontaminate your home now.
Yeah.
Like it's impacted. If you do a test of, if anybody takes a swab of their carpet, of their bedding, of any soft porous material in their home, and they send it to a lab, there'll be ash, there'll be soot, there'll be hexchrome, there'll be all kinds of chemicals inside their home, because if it's outside, it's inside, and if it's
Right.
inside, it's getting absorbed into all of the porous stuff within your home. So
So you are obviously very passionate about air quality and have so much knowledge to share. Where did this come from? How did you even get into this?
I ask myself all the time. It's pretty random. Pretty random. I was more of like a marketing entrepreneurship guy who
Okay.
loved to solve problems and start things. But I got into the flood fire disaster business through opportunity, really in my early 20s. And
Okay.
I had friends who worked for mold removal and remediation companies, um, cleaning up, yeah, toxic molds, floods, fires, things like that. And through the exposure and awareness to them, I decided to start. It seemed like the companies they were working for weren't that great, but it seemed like important work. And then when they were talking about how much money they were charging to remove a piece of drywall, and then what went into mold removal, I was really fascinated by this idea that there could be this like harmful thing. It seemed a whole lot better than a regular construction business and a lot more specialized. And for whatever reason, I felt called to it. And when the Calgary flood happened in 2013, the biggest flood in Canadian history, I partnered up with a really great flood expert. And my job was to build the website and do the marketing and get the customers. And we went to Calgary together to clean up and restore homes after the flood. And personal circumstances came up for him. He had to leave on like day 5 or 6. So I was kind of left alone. And in that first week, we had got clients that were hotels, apartment buildings, a bunch of homes through designers. So I had my friends in the business and YouTube and adrenaline to figure out how to restore a hotel with 5 levels deep into the underground parkade filled with water, how to get the water out and how to restore the
Wow.
hotel. And luckily, because like I had to build the team on the ground. They hired 2 companies. They hired us and this company called First On Site, big company. So they brought about 100 people on, and I got to do the job alongside them and learn a ton about
Hmm.
how to bring in the generators. Oh, what about filtered water and porta potties? You know, when there's these disasters, you have nothing. So I really got thrown into the fire, or to the flood in this case. And then when you're doing mold, flood, fire cleanup, you have to hire air quality consulting companies all the time to test for asbestos, test for mold, clear the property before people can move back into it.
Mm.
And through and honestly, being a 23-year-old, we had to wait 6 months to get paid by the insurance companies, at least. And we had to fight for every dollar. They don't make it easy. But we had to pay the mold and air testing people the next day if we wanted the report. I'm like, that sounds like a cool business. You wave your magic wand, you check the air. This is a cool business. I'm fascinated by this. So I started to research a lot about air quality, and I got certified as a home inspector and a bunch of air quality certifications. And I started in 2014 in Toronto doing air quality consulting. And that just taught me so much about how indoor environments are making people sick. And
Mm.
then um, through my 20s, I would start up businesses after natural disasters. So when there was the ice storm in Toronto, I got into the generator business and found some really, like, I was really good at setting up a website and getting skilled people and
Mm.
assembling a system and a process when there was a dire need for a solution. So Fort McMurray wildfire 2016, biggest fire in Canadian history, brought me back up to Alberta. And this was horrible. Like 100,000 people were
That was
evacuated,
awful.
5,000 homes burnt, over 5,000 cars, factories, chemicals. And if you think like what you're dealing with now in Ontario is like tree fire. Mostly
Right.
it's not good, but it's not nearly as bad as when thousands of homes and cars and factories and think about the WD-40 and the paints, and when there's a fire and your home burns down, there's nothing left but the chimney stack. Everything
Right.
else is gone. So every chemical, every aerosol, every cleaning product is mixed into that toxic cloud of smoke. So this is a different breed of super toxic smoke.
Yeah.
So most fire cleaning protocols are designed around localized fires, like a kitchen fire, a dryer fire. Your house burns down, you left the stove on. Um, this is the barbecue, like this is usually what fires are, but these regional events where cities burn down, there's no real protocol that's been established because these are new disasters of how to clean and restore a home back to a healthy and safe level. So in that Fort McMurray situation, we had to get these homes clean and safe for people. So they evacuated the whole city for a month, and then we got brought in, and then we would basically rip. So first we thought we could just vacuum, HEPA vacuum, and steam clean carpets. Nope, that didn't do it. Um,
So you did that. You
we
mean you did that and then you tested the air quality and you're like, that's not enough?
exactly, and it still stunk. So then it was
Oh,
like, hey,
really?
insurance. So then we would rip out the carpets. Okay, that's better. We would steam clean and try to restore the furniture, but it literally was bathing in smoke for a month. So yeah, we could clean the exterior, but how are we going to clean the foam inside the couch? So we'd throw it. We have to get to the point where it doesn't smell, the air is safe, and the surfaces are safe. So you can't usually start by throwing everything out until it's known that you need to. Insurance doesn't want to throw out things they don't need to.
Right.
But what ended up being discovered there is, yeah, we had to get rid of carpets. We had to even clothes. We would get it steam cleaned and dry cleaned professionally multiple times. You could never get the odor out. So we basically throw out everything soft in the home: the couches, the carpet, the furniture, the chairs, even TVs. Sometimes we had to dispose of because the circuit boards internally were fried, and even the TVs stunk like smoke. Like even
Wow.
non-porous things, everything stunk. Um, And so yeah, we would get the house clean, clean the walls, repaint like everything, restore the whole home. Even the insulation we would have to replace because it was covered. If we would go into an attic and look, the insulation was covered in ash and soot everywhere because it would just come in through the
These are
soffits, literally.
basically, you're talking about the homes in Fort McMurray that were not burned down?
Yes. Most of the homes there weren't burnt down. Out of 25,000 homes, 4 or 5,000 burnt down, but 20,000 homes were just smoke damaged. So
Mm.
we would, I mean, it's almost sometimes easier if your house burns down.
Yeah, yeah, I see now that I'm.
Horrible because your possessions are gone, but at least you're not moving back into a cancer box.
Yeah.
So we would clean the homes, check the air, clear it, and then say, okay, it's safe to move back now. But then we get a call a week later, baby's in the hospital. We go back to the house. We check the air. It's completely contaminated again. Uh-oh. Well, guess what happened? Think about it. We clean the indoor environment, but it's now proven that after wildfire smoke passes through a region, the air can still stay contaminated from 1 to 3 months. It's in your soil, it's in your water,
Right.
it's in the valley. It's there. It's not just all out of your environment. It's all these particles you can't see and smell. And what happens is because those your home breathes the air from outside. So even after we would clean the indoor air, it would bring the toxic smoke back in and the house would be recontaminated. Oh no, we can't throw out everything again. So we call the insurance company and say, hey guys, what do you want us to do with your client? Like we followed protocol, we got it clean, but it's recontaminated again. And they basically said, like, so sad, too bad. We can't clean twice. Like we're not paying for their hotels anymore. They signed off. We're done. Check's on the way. And I'm like, oh shoot. I remember
Oh
Tanya was
no.
was the name of the mom, and they had this cute little baby on a nebulizer at the hospital, and I'm like, we got to do something about it. So we went back to their house and we left our huge, loud, industrial, commercial grade air filters. Like these things look like something between a photocopier and a subwoofer. They're huge, they're loud, they're ugly, but they're effective. So we would leave them there, and within 3 or 4 hours, the air quality was back to normal. So then the family could come home and they were cool for the next couple months. Then we would take out the equipment. It was difficult though because we had dozens of clients. It was hard to like have, we needed the equipment to help clean new homes. So I went to Home Depot and Best Buy and Walmart and Canadian Tire, and I bought every air purifier I could find. I'm like, you know what? It'd be way more affordable to just gift them a few air purifiers that they can keep instead of leaving like our industrial stuff there.
Yeah.
And we bought everything: Molecule, Dyson, Air Ductors, Honeywells, Levoits, like everything you could find at those stores, and they did nothing. And we had the air quality. Our industrial machines
Mm-hmm.
crushed it, but these residential purifiers didn't. And you know what? They, not to their fault, but they weren't designed for this level of smoke contamination. They're designed for a little bit of dust in a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is a big problem. And the analogy I like to use now to talk about that is your regular small residential air purifier. It's like trying to heat a bathtub with a kettle.
Mm.
Kettles heat water really well. For tea, for a bottle, if you try to fill your bathtub with a kettle, you can't because the water's cooling faster than you can heat it. You will never fill a bathtub with a kettle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do we need? We need a hot water tank, which is what? A giant kettle.
Right.
So I basically realized, whoa, these big industrial air machines work great, but they're loud, they're ugly, they're heavy. These small things don't work, but they're quiet, they're pretty, they're convenient. So I got to meeting people on the West Coast. They're like, yeah, there's like there could be 60 days a year where we're supposed to stay inside because the air is bad outside. And then I got to learn that, let's say the good PM 2.5, so like the particulate level on your Jasper is like a 5 is great. During
Yeah, that's
smoke
what it
outside,
normally is, I feel like.
like 4, 5, 6, maybe
Yeah.
8. You cook, it goes up, but your
Yeah.
baseline should be under 10.
100%.
And if you see when there's wildfire smoke, outside can be 150, 200, 250. So they say stay inside. But people don't usually realize inside still 100.
Right.
It's a term called nose blind. that because the indoor air is
Ah,
a little bit cleaner than the outdoor air, humans are really good at surviving and adapting. So when you come inside, you don't smell it. You go outside, you smell it. If you put
hmm.
a Jasper in one room and you close the door and you block the vents, just one, and you breathe clean air in that room, and then you leave that room, you'll smell smoke in your whole house.
Hmm.
So this is a term called nose blind, and I got really passionate because nobody even realizes. They hear, oh, it's a bad allergy day, stay inside. First of all, if you're going to go outside, don't go for a run when it's a bad air day. But your indoor air is typically 5 times dirtier than outdoor air.
Right.
When we test for pollen indoors, there's typically way more pollen in your house than outside. And
Hmm.
outside, we have the UV from the sun, we have wind, we have hydroxyl radicals. The world's best air filter is the nature, is the trees, is the wind, is the sun, it's the ventilation, it's the movement. Inside, we left that filter outside. So all the bad stuff comes in and it stays in. So when I realized that, I'm like, okay, we need a much bigger air purifier. The kettle's not cutting it, but it needs to be smart. So it's quiet most of the time. It needs to be interactive and actually be used to educate people on their air awareness. It needs to be metal because if we're making it out of plastic, we're just polluting the air.
Hmm.
If we're polluting to clean the air, this is not a sustainable effort. So I wanted to make something steel that could be around for 20, 30 plus years. It needed to vent upright because anything that blows forward, all that does is kicks up more dust
Right.
and,
I was
and
gonna say, yeah,
aerosolizes
pushes it
droplets.
around.
With COVID, with especially dental and doctors that we work with, they couldn't use something that blows forward because if there's someone sneezes or spits or
Right.
coughs, you're just blowing it back up into the air.
Right.
Uh, so you don't want to do that. So I basically wanted something that was pretty like a Dyson, quiet like a Tesla, but inspired and powerful by those big machines I was using for mold and flood and fires. So after a few years of tinkering and the whole air, all my air awareness came from a place of if the climate's getting worse, if wildfire smoke is getting worse, if pollution is getting worse, sadly, humans spend 95% of our time
Hmm.
indoors. It's really tough to tackle the outside air, and that's the real problem we need to solve. But if you're sick, you're not being productive. We're not solving any problems. So I'm like, people at least need to have sanctuaries that is their home, that is clean air, clean water, and a place to retreat and rest and recover. So my whole journey into air quality was coming from these disastrous, critical
Right.
environments and trying to create something that could make a horrible situation a much more pleasant one. And it was really just came from the place of smoke. And then COVID and allergies and sleep and pollen and mold and all the other things have come after. But really, originally, it was designed to be a wildfire smoke product for people on the West Coast.
So, what do you think about, so wildfires aside, what is our air quality like when we're not faced with like campfire smell? What is a typical, like, what
Depends
are things we
where.
need to be concerned about? Yeah, I guess that's okay. So let's say like Toronto, Ontario, like what are, let's say like big cities versus smaller, like more rural areas. If there's no wildfire risk, what are the kinds of things that we should be concerned about in our indoor air quality?
So I'm not sure if you know Ryan Blazer from Test My Home. He did a live with Megan not too long ago. He's like the go-to guy in the US. He's on the board of the Building Biology Institute, and he travels around the country helping people optimize their indoor environment, testing their air, their water, their mold, their EMF, and then coming up with a plan of action to give them the safest, healthiest, cleanest environment. So he gets a lot of business from people who are dealing with cancer,
Hmm.
who need. They say if
Yeah.
you can't detox your if you don't detox your home, you can't detox your body.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
he what's unique about him is because he travels all over the country. Most people learn about air through the local environment which they live in, which they work, which they serve. So if the reason I asked you about the where part and what I've learned from traveling and learned from Ryan who travels is if you ask somebody about the air in Fort McMurray versus Toronto versus LA versus Miami, you're going to get a complete versus Vancouver Island. You're going to get a totally different answer. And what
Hmm.
I'm actually super fascinated about is how it's different everywhere, but there's a problem everywhere. Um,
Right. Well, that's the thing. And I mean, my listeners are all over. So I guess what I want to get to is like like, what are the things that we need to know about our indoor air, no matter where we live? Like, what are the top things that we should be concerned about? Like, people need to be concerned about their indoor air, regardless if there's a wildfire, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, what are some of the things that you have seen
Yeah.
in houses that are not under like a wildfire threat?
So I'll give you the quick like 15-second about like the Coles notes of how the different regions matter. So and it's clearly changing because when did you
Yeah.
ever think about wildfire smoke until June of
Never.
2023?
Yeah. Never in my entire life. It's so
That was
crazy.
that was a West Coast thing.
Yeah.
We don't get fires in the East Coast.
Right.
Maybe you do now.
Yeah.
Whoa. So I hope not, but we'll see. Um, so humid environments, Florida, Texas, Toronto, mold is a problem in these humid environments. When you go to dry environments, Arizona, Las Vegas, Alberta, mountains, uh, bacteria, dust, viruses, because it's so dry, there's an optimal
Mm,
humidity zone between 45 and 55. Too humid means mold, too dry means viruses and other problems and stuff like that. West Coast, wildfire smoke. Um, Texas, again, and other places, horrible season allergies and pollen. Big
mm,
cities, city pollution. Um, Near industry or oil towns, Hamilton, Ontario, Fort McMurray, near oil towns, near factories, near you get all the industrial stuff. So every area, there's two things that always are true. There's outdoor pollution and there's indoor pollution. Generally, the indoor pollution is kind of the same everywhere. The outdoor pollution is what varies from region to region. Like
mm.
in Arizona, people move there to get away from the humidity and the fires. People get and it's dry, but the mold toxicity in Arizona is rampant because all of the desert used to be underwater. So, and I work with a lot of naturopaths there.
Okay.
So people are getting really sick. They test their blood for mycotoxins and mold. It's positive. They test their dust. It's the same species, and it's completely correlated to the wind. So when they get their dust storms from the desert, that desert sand,
Mm,
which also some of it you can't see, smell, it's the really fine dust,
right.
it contains mold. And no one would ever think about mold in the desert, but
Wow.
you
No.
there's so that's kind of like it's important for people to realize that different
Yeah.
situations, the dentist is worried about something different than the industrial worker, but the same thing is true. There's stuff outside, outdoor pollution, inside, indoor pollution that we don't want to breathe. Um, it's the same like water. You would never fill your glass, go to Lake Ontario, fill it up, say, it looks
No.
clear, so I
Mm,
can drink it because you've been educated. You know that there's things in that water that you can't see or smell or taste that can make you really sick. You wouldn't just eat off a surface. There might have been raw chicken there. That surface, even though it looks clean, it could make you. Why do we clean surfaces? Why do we wash hands? My hands look fine. They don't smell. I wash them because I know there's invisible things living on my hands that if I touch my mouth, my eyes, my nose can make me sick. And air, for whatever reason, we have no awareness around. I think it's because my hypothesis is because air is the first. What do we do when we're born? First thing as a human, our first breath. The last thing we do before we die, our last breath. And just like the fish in the water who doesn't have to drink water, they breathe water basically through their gills. Our human bodies breathe air automatically, even while we sleep. So if you're hungry, get food. If you're thirsty, get water. Air, our body breathes automatically. So I'm pretty sure we're kind of ignorant to the air quality because it's an automated process that happens no matter what. And to answer your question about what we need to be concerned of, we really think a lot about temperature and humidity
mm-hmm.
because the why, it's amazing. You don't realize, but our bodies, we don't think about it, but we have temperature sensors. You know if it's hot or cold. That's
Mm-hmm.
because your skin has temperature sensors built into your body that tell your brain if the air or the water is warm or cold. And we also have humidity sensors. Think about when it's dry versus being in the rainforest. You have a humidity sensor too. If something smells really bad, you can detect odors. So we forget that our body has these incredible biosensors. What many people haven't calibrated is their sensors for mold, CO2,
Mm-hmm.
pollution, VOCs. My biosensors are very calibrated. I can walk into a home and smell mold. I can smell VOCs. I can feel and smell CO2 and airflow like this because
Mm.
I've been trained with gadgets to calibrate my sensors. So if you've ever been in a classroom or an office or a home with too many people and you go, I just need to go outside for a breath of fresh
Yeah,
air.
I
And you
know
go outside, you're like,
exactly what you're talking about.
ah,
Yeah.
whoa. That's not fresh air, guys. That's just air. You put yourself in an environment where there was limited oxygen, maximum carbon dioxide, CO2, that regular polluted air seemed amazing. You calling it fresh air. That's just air. So I really love that's why people want to crack their windows. Why? Because they want fresh air. But they're not even aware if the air outside is clean, fresh air. So we need in our homes, we want good temperature air, good temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, VOCs, and particulate matter. So harmful particles, harmful gases, CO2, oxygen, temperature, humidity. And if people kind of just understand that and can navigate that, so um, if someone has a dog and that dog sleeps in their bedroom, dogs are awesome for companionship and for love and for fun, but they're terrible for air quality. You would never take a blanket, go outside, rub it on the grass, on the road, on the tree, on a dog's butt a little bit, and then toss it on your bed, shake it out, and cuddle. You'd be like, what? We do it every day with our dogs. So it doesn't mean don't have a dog, but it does mean brush the dog and put an air purifier in your bedroom because you're not eating your dog. You're not like, how does things get into us? We eat them, we drink them, we breathe them, or our skin absorb them. So most of these things, the mold and pollution, it's a breathing thing. So when people just kind of have the general awareness about, okay, I eat 2 pounds of food a day. I drink 2 liters of water a day, but I breathe 17,000 liters of air per day. Well, if you're being careful of what you're putting in your body, that has to start with air.
Mm-hmm.
So with indoor pollution and outdoor pollution, you can control the source, which means don't have harmful toxic chemicals in your home. Try to not have visible physical black mold from leaks. But there's so many things we can't control. So if you can't, like with your water, for example, if you just live in a city or a well, you can't really control the source of your water. It's coming in
Mm-hmm.
through the pipe, but you can filter it once it arrives. If you have meat, you could control the source a little bit. You have to cook it until it's safe. It takes treatment. If
Mm-hmm.
you aren't getting the necessary nutrients in your body because our soil quality is poor and our food is weak, you take supplements. If your air is bad, which it is, just like you would with your water filter or your supplements, you need to supplement that air and you need to ensure that you have fresh air, ventilation, and then clean air. So that's kind of like the two things. Air purifiers don't create oxygen. They don't make new air.
Mm.
So we need a steady flow of stale air going out, fresh air coming in, and we need that fresh air to be constantly being cleaned. Uh, so that's a bunch of words for you.
Thank you for those bunch of words. So we used to have a Dyson. It broke. We didn't have anything for like 2 years, but as I'm learning more, I'm like, maybe that thing wasn't that good anyhow. We now have a Jaspr, which is your company. So what is that cleaning? What is that doing in our home?
So Dyson is great at being pretty.
Yes,
It's
agreed.
really good at that. It's
Very
really good
pretty.
at that. The design, I think we kind of got tricked by Dyson's impressive vacuums and
Mm-hmm.
their V blade fans at the bathrooms and their awesome hair dryer. And we just kind of trusted the company blindly. But it doesn't mean that the Dyson, in my opinion, was a failed product. it just needs to be understood that it's basically sort of functional art.
Right.
Um, if you live in a place with great air, pretty good air, and you don't have much bad stuff, and you have a Dyson in your small bedroom, it's okay. But know that it's pretty much art. So, like a Dyson max fan speed is 87 CFM. The Jasper's 430.
Oh,
The
wow.
Dyson on its lowest speed is probably like 20 CFM. The Jasper on its lowest speed, which is silent, is about 125 CFM.
And is
So the
that its ability to
Jasper,
suck in the air and clean it? Is that what that means?
um,
Or
it's
pushing
more
out the
thought
clean
about.
air?
It's more thought about the blowing, but the equation is one CFM out equals one CFM in. So it's potato
Oh,
potato.
okay.
If it's how much air is it bringing in? It's the same amount that it's pushing out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, the Dysons and the molecules and things like that, they really optimized for aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to optimize for performance
Well, the
coming
Jasper's
from,
not bad looking.
and I needed it to also look pretty good too.
Yeah. Doesn't look bad.
So that's where if you saw what we were using for floods and fires, like loud subwoofers, you like, okay, I would use that thing in a campfire situation. But otherwise, like, I'm not leaving that thing in my living room, in my bedroom. Like, it's created noise pollution, and
Mm.
noise pollution is a real thing that we need to consider, and aesthetic does matter. So Jasper had to be quiet, pretty, and effective. And if we couldn't achieve those three things, I was never going to launch it. That's why it took about 3.5 years before we even launched it, because I wasn't convinced that we had the best product. And into coming from a mold flood fire background, it had to do those jobs.
Right.
So I
So
was
does it get,
basically,
so it does get rid of mold? Well,
it
obviously you have
crushes
to get to
molds.
the source. But if you,
If you don't get to the source, well, every home, I've never been to a home where I always tell someone, if you're ever stuck in a lease and you can't get out, call me. I'll come over. I'll find the mold. Send your landlord a picture. They'll let you out. There's always mold. Over
mm,
75% of the homes that we've tested in Toronto have mold. Often it's in
very
the
curious.
attics. It's
Okay.
often in the attic, which is not the worst place because typically it's venting
Sealed.
out from there. It's not like leaking into your home, but mold is present. If we go, that's why when you do mold testing, you take a sample inside, you take a sample outside,
Mm-hmm.
especially after rain. There's a huge amount of mold outside.
Mm,
Mold is a present thing. There's allergens,
right.
there's pollen, there's thousands of microparticles in the air all the time. Mold is a big part of that. So mold is natural.
Right.
There are harmful molds, but it's a part of nature. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to like eliminate it entirely, it doesn't work because you play whack-a-mole. If you have stachybotrys, black mold from a leak, yeah, you should cut that out and dry that out. But like little amounts of airborne mold, you can remediate that till your heart's content. But we can test it again the next day. The mold's coming back. It's
Mm,
just like your water. If we You can filter all the water you want in your Brita, but turn that tap back on, polluted, heavy chlorinated water is coming back in through your home. It's a
mm-hmm.
constant act of the source is coming in and we filter the source. The source is coming in, we filter the source. So most people who have Jaspers, they never turn them off. Even if you're on vacation, you want that thing running all the time because
Mm-hmm.
you'd rather those harmful particles get captured in your filter and not in your HVAC, in your carpet, on your floor, etc. Um, and smart is helpful because it can be quiet most of the time, except for when you need it to make some noise. It's because you need it to make some noise, and it'll go red, and it'll let you know it's time to clean some air, like when you're cooking or when you're
Yeah,
cleaning.
yeah. I've noticed that.
Um, and that can like range hoods don't capture that much particulate. That's why when people cook and clean,
Yeah, that's when
it's
ours
going
comes
up.
on. Sorry, it doesn't come on when we clean.
Well, you
Um,
probably are using good cleaning products.
yeah, maybe we have, well, yeah, we only use like super clean stuff.
That's why.
And yeah, to clean the floor, we just use like a steamer. But to vacuum, maybe our vacuum has like a good filter, but it does come on for sure when we're like making pancakes or even using the toaster, even if you don't
Oh
burn
yeah.
your toast.
even if you don't put it on your toast.
Yeah, it still comes on.
Well, think about when you heat stuff, you're aerosolizing particles. So,
Right.
and you know, it's not just like, what do you think it is in the air? Well, it's what you're cooking, but it's also in the pan. All those oils are being aerosolized.
Right.
The food particulate, the smokes, the gases. There's a lot of stuff. If you have a nonstick pan, little bits of that nonstick pan are being aerosolized. It's like when you barbecue, it makes it obvious all that stuff coming off the grill.
Yeah.
You can't see it as much in the pan, in the oven, but what you like, if you're smelling it, it's because you're breathing it. You know,
Right.
I paint a picture for people. If you make bacon and you put the grease in a mason jar and you put it on your counter, it turns into a rock. Well, what do you think happens when you breathe all that bacon grease to your lungs, to your heart? I don't know, but it's not good. These are things that we're smelling, that we're putting in our body through our lungs. And like, how recently did humans even start cooking indoors anyway?
Right.
This is a pretty new thing.
That's
Like,
a good point.
a lot of these indoor air issues started in the 1970s when the energy efficiency movement started, because energy efficiency and cost savings is at complete odds with air quality. Because think about it, we build these homes, we make them super tight, our value, spray foam insulation, tight windows. So why? To keep the cool in the summer, to keep the warm air in the winter. But along with that air, we're also keeping in the cooking, the chemicals, the sprays, the mold, the pollen. We're trapping everything in, and we're not allowing for any fresh air. So it's really kind of a battle of what's more important to optimize for: energy efficiency or human health. And most homes, like, think about it. You bought a home. You call the home inspector. Home inspector comes over. What do they look for? Roof, furnace, squeaky floors. They're literally looking for stuff that's going to be a hidden expense to help you with your negotiation. The home inspector is not looking to find out if this home is a safe place for you to raise your family. And I think that's totally messed up. And when an architect and a builder design a home, they're trying to design it to be beautiful, long lasting, functional, maybe a little bit. The last thing that gets considered in homes, especially like builder grade subdivision homes, is the HVAC system. So the lungs of the home are the last thing that we consider. Whereas, to me, it's backwards, because we're building these homes to be like cost efficient, energy efficient structures to keep the outside out and the inside in, instead of building homes that are designed to keep the humans inside them living healthy, vibrant lives. And this, to me, is way more important than air purifiers or just air, but it's creating a shift in consumer awareness and demand that says we need to make homes that are healthy for us, especially now with baby boomers. A lot of them have money, but not so much time. And they're looking to trade that money for time. So building homes and structures now that are biohacked, healthy homes, good air, good lighting, EMF shielding. Throw the kitchen sink at it and make sure you're working with a designer who understands that. Jaspr and, reverse osmosis systems and water softeners and a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you can do once your home is built to make your environment way better. But it's important for people to realize the architect, the builder, the home inspector, the realtor, none of the people who the people who set the code to make your home energy efficient. There's codes for energy efficiency. There isn't codes for how much chemicals are in your house. So to me, this is like a really big systemic problem that, all the same, like we're looking at food and autoimmune and water, and how can we not consider air, and how can we not consider the homes that we live in?
So have you seen, in terms of your customers who've bought your Jaspr, have you seen people with health issues get better from having an air filter in their home? Can you speak to any of those case studies?
Way more than I ever imagined. So Jaspr was developed for wildfire smoke. Then COVID happened. We sold 90% to doctors and dentists to help them with infection control during the pandemic, because they needed to keep patients and staff safe. And those are very analytical, tough customers who really do their homework, doctors. And then what would happen is patients would go into the dental office. The hygienist would explain to them why they have the cleanest, most filtered air possible, and how most dental offices have the worst air. The saliva, the tooth particles, the bacteria, the plaque. I would never go to a dentist that doesn't have air purifiers in every single room.
Mm.
There's a millions of studies out there. The Department of the Defense in the US ranks dental and dental hygiene as two of the top 5 most dangerous jobs in America, because there you are, mouth wide open, having
Right.
your, and you don't know where the person before
Yeah.
you was. All those particles are suspended. So when we detect air in the dental office, it is the worst.
Ew,
Uh,
that's so
de-
gross. Now I'm
Dentists
gonna
have,
check.
you should, and you should
Yeah.
hold your dentist to a high standard. And I don't care if it's Jaspr, but they need to have something significant, not a cheap little Honeywell in the corner. There needs to be
Mm.
something beefy that's cleaning the air, because the dentist and the hygienist are wearing masks.
Right.
The patient's mouth is wide open. So, and dentists have the awareness, and they need to
Mm-hmm.
do something about it, because it's the same reason that in a surgery we do infection control like crazy. In a dental office, like dentists get crazy onset asthma, and they have all kinds of illnesses that they get. But what about the patient as well, who's just coming in there trusting that it's a good experience? Even when we test the lobby of a dental office, the air quality is heavily compromised. Um, so it's really
Wow.
great, because a lot of dentists bought it for COVID, but now they're still using it because they've got the awareness and the education. Because yeah, that's a really, 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 really big deal. Um, so when the dentists and the hygienists would educate new patients on the investment that they've made and why this is a clean place, the patients would often go, "Whoa, my son has asthma. Do they sell this for the home?" They're like, "I don't know. Contact Jaspr." We didn't have e-commerce or anything, so people would contact us and we would talk to them, and we'd say, "Hey, try it. If it doesn't work for the first 60 days, we'll give you all your money back. We'll pay for the shipping." And that's when we would start to see, whoa, my son who used to have asthma attacks all night long isn't having asthma attacks anymore. Or someone in Toronto who was tracking their sleep on their Aura Ring
Yeah, I have
went from
one.
a 61 sleep
Mine's
score.
charging. Mine's
Okay.
charging right now. I wear one.
So somebody went from a 61 sleep score to a 91. It's not that the Jaspr cured them, it's that there was mold in the air. They lived in a condo, lots of
Right.
mold. So think about it, going from breathing a ton of mold to no mold, of course that's going to have a huge benefit for your sleep.
Right.
People who have pet allergies, people who have smoke allergies, the biggest changes that we've had for people is the seasonal allergies and sleep. Because I like to call air sleep fuel. When you're sleeping, you're not eating, you're not drinking.
Mm.
The only thing that keeps you alive all night is air. And in most bedrooms, when we do a test, there's about 5 to 800,000 particles between zero point 0.3 and 10 microns. So that's a lot of dead skin cells, dust, construction across the street, rubber from tires, pollution, all of the modern things. They're really, really present in our bedrooms at night in this small confined space. And sleep is the time when we're supposed to consolidate our memories and our muscles are supposed to repair. It's recovery time. And we're really unable to recover because our immune system is still in a fight or flight mode, dealing with all these toxins we're breathing all night long. So I think the first order of business for air is optimizing your sleep air.
Yeah,
And
so
I
I was
used
gonna
to,
say, is that where do you think you should have, if you can only have one purifier, should you have it in your bedroom?
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure,
Okay, because
for
we have
sure.
ours on our main floor, and when we first got it, we had it on our top floor where our office also is. But then I was like, but cooking.
Well,
So
because you have an HVAC system and a furnace fan, the role of that is to mix all the air in your home. So no
okay,
matter where in the home you put it, it's contributing to the whole home no matter what.
okay,
If
that's
you put
good.
it in your bedroom, think about your bedroom. You have a vent where the air blows in from the
Mm-hmm.
furnace, and then there's a return where it goes back.
Right.
So the air goes in the room, gets
Mm,
super clean, goes back to the furnace, and then distributes across the whole home anyway. So the bedroom, however, when you close the door at night, Jasper will typically get those particles down by 90 to 95% within an hour or two. So all of a sudden, the biggest win that I've seen people have, which is amazing, is people with environmental sensitivity whether that's seasonal allergies, mold sensitivities, but like they just feel sick all the time outside,
Yeah.
runny nose, chronic coughs, tired. What's amazing is, so, we're taught at a young age what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Just blanket statement. Well, that's not true for everything. If
Yeah.
you're a UFC fighter or a boxer, if you get knocked out, you're way more susceptible to being knocked out again.
Mm-hmm.
With mold and with allergens in particular, and I work with a lot of allergists. This is how allergies work. That's why, if someone has a peanut allergy or an anaphylactic, each time they have an exposure, the next one's more extreme.
Mm.
They don't say eat peanuts a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and your allergy will go away. It's quite the opposite. Your body's like giving you a way crazier immune
Mm-hmm.
response to make you take this seriously. So what blew my mind to see now, the allergist educated me on it, but now I've seen it firsthand, is when somebody suffers from seasonal allergies, especially outside, but they're able to have really clean air in their bedroom at night, it's allowing them to recover and recharge and restore and repair. That then when they go outside, they're fine because
Mm.
it's
They're
not
more
24
resilient.
hours a day of
Right.
beatdown. They actually get to retreat to their home, have their filtered water, have their filtered air, recover in their clean air sanctuary. And then when they go outside for an hour here, an hour there, that's fine. They can handle a little bit of pressure. It's like you can go into a sauna or a cold plunge, or you can handle extreme things for little bits of time. But
Mm-hmm.
if you stay in there too long, you'll get hypothermia. You'll cook. So it's the same. So what's really blown my eyes open is when people are able to optimize their indoor air, seeing that they're also way more comfortable outside when they don't have a Jasper and they don't have a mask. That's been the most amazing thing to me.
That makes sense too. I mean, it's essentially you're like lowering your toxic load. I'm actually very curious to see. So I just got the Jasper a couple weeks ago and I didn't have it. There was a time, I don't typically suffer from seasonal allergies, but there was a time period in June for like 2 weeks, I want to say. Apparently, the tree pollen, or I don't know if it was the grass, was brutal. And I was sneezing like 100 times per day. So it'll be interesting to see come next year or when allergies are bad again if I'm like sneezing again. I'm kind of curious to see what happens. So for people who um don't are not able to buy an air purifier, are there any other suggestions how you can clean your air?
Yeah, lots. I mean, living in a place that doesn't have bad air is the best thing. Obviously, not
Yeah.
everybody can move. The second best thing is having good ventilation. And like, look, there's a million apps out there. They're all coming from the same data, but looking at the air quality in your area, you check the
Mhm.
weather. Why? To see if it's nice to go outside. But just as important as the temperature and if the sun and if the rain's out, I look at the air quality. And
Yeah.
if I see the air quality is excellent, then I say to my wife and kids, let's get outside and run and play outside today. Today's a great day to be outside.
Do
And
you have
if
an
the air is
app that
really
you
bad,
use? Do you have an app that you really like for like air quality, or are you more just like because the I think the weather app normally tells you like air
I
quality?
like I like just Googling it's not bad. I also really
Yeah.
like Air Visual is really good.
Okay. I'm just
And they
looking
actually
at
have a
mine to
really good
see.
they have a really good widget on the iPhone. So like on the like when you like have your lock screen or whatever, I'll show you mine in a second.
Okay.
Um, it's
I just
actually
looked.
made by IQ Air, an air purifier company. It was really smart of
Okay.
them.
Yeah, I mean that's
Um,
something I definitely want. I mean, right now it says hazardous. I don't know if you can see that, but that's
I
just
see
like
a red bar that says trouble.
yeah, special air quality statement.
So
Um,
see right now I have a widget there so you can see Austin is great.
yep.
And that's the air forecast that says it'll be great all week. So I will open Air Visual and Austin's good, but let's go down and it gives you what's really cool is the 7 day forecast is actually pretty good. So I can see that our forecast is
Yep. All
pretty
green.
good.
That's what that is.
But
The
like,
green bars.
so New York right now, so there's Toronto.
Oh yeah. 180.
And if
Is that
we,
us?
that's
185?
185, yeah. And if we look at the 7 day forecast, like,
Is it
oh,
getting
actually,
better?
better than
A little
worse. And
bit.
then at the end of the week, they don't like past 4 days out, it's hard to know. But like if you look at New York, for example, um, It looks fine. What's also really cool is the app has a map tool.
Oh, cool.
So you can see where are the
So what's
fires,
that
where is the
called?
air bad. That's
What's
air
that one?
visual.
Air visual. Okay, we'll link that up in the show notes too.
And like, so you can see here the whole Chicago, Toronto, Great Lakes region is all red and
Oh yeah.
yellow. And it's really neat because it shows you that like this morning, New York had perfectly good air. Everyone's
Yeah,
like
it's
thinks they're
amazing how
fine.
fast. It's
But so you see New York?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Look where the wind's coming from. So you could tell
Oh, it's gonna
that
be bad.
tomorrow air currents are the same as water currents. Like these are currents. So New York
That's
is going to
really
get pulled
cool.
in, and then it's going to start to make its way south. It'll probably be in Texas
Mm.
in 7 to 10 days. The smoke. So I'm always tracking the smoke. Um, but yeah, this view shows you as well. And I mean, for
Oh
people
yeah,
who
that's cool.
are only listening, which is probably everybody, what we're looking at is a real-time smoke air quality map of North America. And you can see the wind currents. So you can see where it's bad, and the forecast is showing that it'll be good next week. And then you can also see
So did
where
you just
the
Google that or was that air visual as well?
that was Air Visual. They have when you go to their map mode, they have that feature. But they also you can actually also set up notifications so it can like ping you when the bad
Hmm.
air is coming. Um, so yeah, we and at Jasper we actually are getting better and better at alerting people. So saying, hey, the air is really bad in your area. Today is a great day to keep your windows shut and turn your Jasper to fan speed 2. Even if it shows that it's good, Jasper
Ah,
can't detect everything. So
okay.
like times
That's
like
a good
now,
tip.
even if you're down to like 5, 6, 10, 11, fan speed 2 for sure
Oh,
because
okay. I'm gonna
it's
adjust
still
that
a
then.
bad outside air. It's not good. It's coming inside. Even the things you can't detect that it is cleaning, you want to run it at a higher setting.
Okay, so what are some other things that people can do? Any
Yes. What
other
can they do?
ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most DIY option that is not bad is buying like a 20 by 20 or a 24 by 24, like a big box fan. It's probably like
Oh,
$50 at Home Depot, like a
yeah.
big fan, and
Mm-hmm.
then buying a really good furnace filter and taping it to the back.
Oh, yeah.
They're
That's
really
a
effective.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
better than 90% of air purifiers on the market.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
ghetto, it's not quiet, but if you
Not
just
pretty,
want
definitely
something
not pretty.
not pretty, but who cares if
Yeah.
it,
It's better than nothing.
I'd rather have a car that works and safe versus no car. um,
Okay,
so
so you're taping the filter to where it sucks in the air on that side, and then got it.
yeah, like a rotating stick fan that won't work.
Yeah.
But there's
No, those box ones.
just big
Yeah.
box fans,
They're like
and then
the
on the
ugly
back
cream colored ones.
they have them in all the colors. But
Yeah.
I'm sure you got a picture of one in your head.
I
So
do.
yeah, the back is flat. You take
Right.
a big furnace filter, you attach it to the back, and you duct tape it on. Ideally, either the filter fits perfectly or the filter's too big because you want all of the air that the fan is pulling in to go through the filter. And there you got furnace filters for 15, $20,
Mm-hmm.
box fans for 50, and for $70 you have an incredible air purifier.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, which also, as you're saying this, makes me think to people listening to make sure they change their furnace filter, right?
By the
Because
way, little sneak peek, Jasper's coming out with a furnace filter in November.
oh, amazing.
A
Okay, I need
regular
that.
furnace filter,
Yeah.
but actually improved with carbon. So it'll be for
Oh,
VOCs, gases,
oh, that's
odors,
amazing.
and just fit right into your regular furnace and still allow for really good airflow. We have car
Okay.
filters coming out as well because
I was going to
I
ask you
went
about
deep
that.
down. So
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah. So we just got our lease ended on our other car and we got a new car. We got a Volvo. And I've never seen this before, but in our car, it has like a whole like air quality thing. However, so it tells you all the allergens outside, like the tree, the grass, some other thing. Then it tells you the NO2, the SO2,
Yeah,
the O3. It tells you like seven different things of
yeah.
outdoor.
Ozone, nitrous oxide, sulfuric
Yep. And then
oxide.
it tells you the air quality in the car. But my question is, what is the actual filter? Is it actually a good filter that's like filtering the air that's coming into the car? I don't.
So my two questions are: what is the sensor that's giving you the readings? Do we trust the
Right.
data?
That's kind of
And
what I'm
then
wondering.
two is, I could see that from a car company, they have a bias to tell you that the air sucks
Yeah.
outside, but it's great inside.
Right. That's
Stay
kind
in
of
your
what I
car.
wondered.
Um, but Tesla, for example, has a great cabin filter. There's a famous
Okay.
picture of Elon Musk holding up the Tesla HEPA, and it's like this big, and then most car filters are like this big. And like
Okay.
that's because size
That's
matters,
cool.
surface area
Yeah.
matters, airflow
Right.
matters. So bigger is better when it comes to filters and fans. That's why Jaspr is not small. Um, but in like a lot of cars, like I have a GMC Sierra Denali, a pickup truck. The cabin filter is just a horrendous joke.
Mm,
It's not much of a filter at all. And they tell us to change it every like 6 to 12,000 kilometers or 4 to 8,000 miles. That's
right.
like that could be twice a year. That's not
Right.
enough. This should be 4 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
people,
so there's
especially those
filters in cars that you can change. I didn't even know this.
people don't know it. They think it's like
I
some
didn't know.
crazy thing in the engine. It's usually you pop out your glove box and the cabin
Yeah.
filter is right there and you change it just like a furnace filter.
Oh my God. I don't think we've ever in any car ever changed the filter in our
Well,
car.
the manufacturer, it's part of your maintenance. So
Oh, okay. They do it.
they know rotate tires, change cabin filter, change oil filter,
Mm,
change it. Like there's filters for your engine and filters for your oil, and then there's a
okay.
filter for your cabin. Once again, the humans, you're doing way more maintenance on your car to make sure the car is okay than the
Yeah,
person
right.
inside it is okay.
Seriously. What about plants? Do plants clean the air?
Plants are okay. NASA did a study. If people just Google the NASA plant study,
Yeah.
there's a really simple chart that shows how efficacious various plants are for different types of contaminants in the home. So like
Okay.
certain plants are good at
Spider.
formaldehyde and
Yeah.
yeah,
Spider
spider
plants,
plants have
peace
a good
lilies.
reputation. So I mean, it's helpful, but the funny thing is plants can also create humidity and mites and
Mold.
bugs and other issues. Um, but yeah, plants are a good part, and I think plants are really good for the indoor environment, but they don't replace like
Yeah, it's
mechanical
not right.
filtration.
Okay, so here's
Um,
another question. I always like opening the windows. So how is it really like is it like don't open the windows unless it's like a clean air quality day basically? Is that the
yeah,
advice?
it
Because it
is.
always
It
feels
is the
nice to
advice.
like let the air, the fresh air in, but really if it's the air's not fresh, don't open your windows. Is that kind of the advice that you have?
Yeah, I mean, like if the outdoor air is like between 5 and 30, and there's no warnings, and like your Air Visual app or your Purple Air, any of these other apps tell you that the air is fine, then it's fine. But when it's like a polluted day, like you can tell now it's extreme. It smells like a campfire outside.
Yeah, it's
Don't
very
open the
hazy.
windows. But there's a lot of pollution that comes from the city that you can't see or smell. Like
Mm-hmm.
generally, cities aren't optimal air environments. They have like very few trees, tons of people, cars, chemicals, restaurants, factories, construction. Um, think about this. Your tire you have to change your tires every so often. Why? Because the rubber gets deteriorated. It's being used up.
Right.
It doesn't go into the road. It goes into the air. Like
Right.
that's where stuff goes. um,
Mm-hmm.
so in an urban life, there is a lot of stuff in the air. I've done a lot of tests. Like if you just when I open my barbecue is far from my back door, like 40
Oh,
feet.
that's smart.
And even at the 40 feet, depending on the wind, when we open the door to go in and out, Jasper goes crazy. When the
Mm,
neighbor across the street is renovating their bathroom and the contractor is cutting the wood outside, it goes up too. So
yeah. That's a
we
really
can
good tip. Move your barbecue as
move your
far away from
barbecue.
your. Yeah, that's a
That's
great tip.
if another good way to get fresh air. So if people have like an air sensor in their home, those apps give you outdoor air. I like the Aware element, AWAIR element
Okay.
for monitoring indoor air, kind of like I showed you with the outside air before. This is the same thing, but for inside the home. So there's my daughter Aria's bedroom, which is a 96 out of 100. She's got great air in there. Um,
So sorry, it's like a sensor that you have in her
it's
bedroom?
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
And that's
eh,
what's that called?
I use a product called the Aware.
Okay.
There's an Air Things that's okay. I don't like it as much. But it's monitoring for temperature, humidity, CO2, chemicals, and PM 2.5. And like you can see when you cook, it spikes. Our air is good because we have quite a lot of Jaspers in the home. Um, but it's our CO2. When I was living in British Columbia, me and my wife, when we moved there, I was sleeping 10 hours a night and I was waking up exhausted.
Mm,
So I checked the air in my room and my CO2 would go from 700 in the day to over 3,000 at night. Once you hit
wow.
1,000, that's when you start to have substantial cognitive decline and fatigue. We were getting over 3,000.
Why was it so
That
high?
well, we had our place in BC, which most people don't have air conditioners in Kelowna. It only started
Okay.
to get hot in the past decade, so no one needed them. It was very
Mm,
temperate, and so we don't have forced air. We had baseboard heaters and like split ductless
oh,
systems,
okay.
mini splits. So at night we close our door to our bedroom, and we're two human air
Oh,
breathers,
right,
breathing in
right.
oxygen, breathing out CO2. So the CO2 would go crazy. That 3,000, 3,500 plus. Of course, we were exhausted. We had like no oxygen, and we were bathing
Wow.
in carbon dioxide every night. So you'd
So
sleep.
would that make a difference if you opened your window then in that case? If the air outside was okay?
Yes, if we cracked the bathroom window, it would be great. However, half the year in Canada it was too cold, and the other half the year was too smoky.
Right.
So this was a problem. So what I actually started to do was I would keep our ensuite door open
Mm-hmm.
to our bathroom. So the bedroom and the bathroom were open, and then I would leave the bathroom fan on throughout the night because then it was ventilating.
Oh, that's smart.
So leaving bathroom fan, like if your CO2 is high, but you don't want to open your windows, bathroom fan on, great. Range hood on the first speed, also great. If people are hosting or entertaining, remember my parents had about 50 or 60 people over, and the CO2 went from 600 to like 4 or 5,000. And, once again, everyone feels tired because the home's keeping all that
Mm,
gas inside. So I would make sure to go open the door and purge the air. And here's the crazy thing: the party ends at 9 o'clock. The CO2 would stay high for 3 or 4 days because it's in
whoa.
there. Unless you would like open multiple doors and windows and purge that CO2
Yeah.
carbon dioxide gas when they were done. So when they were hosting, when someone's hosting a large group of people, and if the climate is hot or cold or polluted or allergy, you leave all your bathroom fans on and you leave your range hood on fan speed one. So you're purging all that CO2 and then you won't have a problem.
That's such a great tip. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm glad I
Okay,
learned it.
so any other final thoughts that you want to share? Anything we didn't talk about?
um, hmm. Those are
Where
some
can
pretty big
people?
ones.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it was, you covered a lot. So I think it was really amazing. We'll make sure that we link up in the show notes where people can find more about Jasper. Um, yeah, where can actually, I'll pass it over to you. Where can people connect with you?
Jaspr.co is the
Okay.
website. .co. Instagram DMs are pretty good.
Okay.
Live chat on the website's pretty good. We answer them all. We get into pretty lengthy conversations with people about their air and their environment. So we're happy to help with that stuff. It's unique that we came from like an environmental consulting place. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not the most scalable thing, but talking to everybody about their individual problems is like really fun. And I think that's the best way to actually educate is one person at a time. Although podcasts like this are great because you can reach more than one person with one
Yeah,
conversation.
absolutely.
Um, and I don't know if you have a code, but if we don't, we'll make you a
Yes.
code that you can link up.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. We'll make sure
Pass
we share
on
that.
savings to those who I always tell people for those who it's right for, no explanation is required, and for those who it's not right for, no explanation will do. And I don't believe Jasper is an air purifier business. I believe that we're an air education business, and
Love
along the
that.
way as we find products that don't exist, like what I would love to do, like that's why I would tell you about the DIY purifier and other sensors
Yeah,
that
I
exist.
appreciate
If
that.
there's already a good product out there, I'd prefer to just recommend that and I'll be a customer of it too. But if
Mm-hmm.
something doesn't exist for a particular problem that needs to be solved, um, that's where I get excited about creating it. And a big shift that the reason why some people do have 3 or 4 Jaspers is because of that. if you have hard water, the guy comes to your house, does his test, says you have hard water. Water softener could be $7, $8, $9, $10,000. Whole
Mm-hmm.
home water system could be $7, $8, $9,
Yeah.
$10,000. So instead of thinking about like $13.99 for an air purifier, and we bundle them if people buy more, think about it more as $4,000 or $5,000 for a whole home air filtration system.
Right.
And that's there is actually one other thing that is important to mention is a lot of air purifiers. People say, how many square feet does it cover? That's what they want to know.
Yeah.
First of all, it depends on the ceiling height. It depends on the HVAC.
Right.
But even more so, what they don't include, if it says 1,500 square feet, is my air 99% better or 5% better? How much is it cleaning the air for that square footage? Because
Right.
if I put a Jaspr into this, 8x6 room I'm in to record this podcast, the air is going to be like 99.999% better. If we put it into a classroom that's like 30 by 40 or 30 by 30, maybe the air is going to be 50% better. The larger the space, the less efficient it's going to be because there's more
Right.
air to clean. So it's really important for people to not just look at that square footage number and think that they've checked the box and they're good to go. Really, like even the Jaspr, we can cover 2,000 square feet, but like not to 99% effectiveness. So
Right.
if you put one Jaspr in your home, let's just say like one Jaspr in your home is making the air in the room that it's in 80 or 90% cleaner and 20 or 30% cleaner in the whole home. And that's nothing to scoff at. A 30% toxin reduction just by paying some money and pushing a button and plugging it in is pretty good. So like really depends. Some people, it depends how far people want to take it. And that's where like more means that 30% could get up to 80 or 90 or 99%. So just kind of articulating it to people that it's like, your house
Right.
shares the air, and it really depends. If you want to be like really toxin free, yeah, you need 4 or 5, or one per bedroom. You can get away with some smaller machines for the bedrooms. Jaspers are great for the open areas, but like it's just when people hear a square footage, don't think that means the air is perfectly clean.
Yeah, that's more like
It's
marketing depending on the brand, right? Like,
yeah. So
or I guess that's the question. If it's 1,500 square feet, how clean is that filter getting that 1,500 square feet?
Because they say two things. They say we filter 99.999999% of the air. Yeah, that's just at the filter level, not in the room level. So they say 99.999, and then they say 1,500 square feet. People figure I'll just put this in the corner and my air is good. Not exactly. And I really don't want to be a copycat and just make these claims. I want to actually find ways, and podcasts are great to educate people that explain like why it's nuanced, why I got into this business. And that's it. That's all I got.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing all your knowledge. This was wonderful. I love chatting with you, and I know our listeners are going to benefit, and everyone needs to definitely go and check out the Jaspr air purifier. Do you call it a purifier or a filter? Or is this
Technically speaking, it's very confusing. People use both words, but technically the filter is the thing that goes inside of it, but the purifier is the machine itself. But I mean, even that's kind of unclear, because if you buy a water filter, you call it a filter. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
All good. All right. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right. Until next time.